Gilgeous-Alexander on the drive, pulls back, baseline, jumper's good! OKC with their first lead of the second half. Williams has been hot all night, falling away, got it! 40 points for Jalen Williams. 28 remaining, Holmgren down the lane! A Holmgren hammer, and it's back up to a dozen.
This is Udart. You're listening to the Uncontested.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Hosting Show, part of the Blue Wire Podcast Network, and proudly sponsored by Prairie Artisan Ales. I'm your host on this Thursday evening, JD Silva, joined by my dog TP.
Silva, are we back?
We're back.
Kind of feels like we're back. The defense is back. Mediocre three-point shooting is back, which is a lot better than poor three-point shooting. Chet's doing the towels on Gallo post-game, and he's also doing an interview. Just got done doing a post-game interview with Amazon. I almost said NBC. Shirtless, Silva.
He's feeling himself. He's feeling himself tonight. And
he should be after tonight.
Yeah, we're feeling ourselves after two of the best wins of the season in these last two games. We're very excited to break those down for you on this post-game show. Before we get into that, though, be sure to subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts. Leave us a 5-star rating, please, if you have not done so already. You can find us on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, etc. You can also check out our Patreon by clicking the link in the description of this episode if you're listening afterwards, or by scanning the QR code above my dadgum head in the live stream. Here it is. We do extra content there. We dropped an extra episode after our Sunday show last Sunday. You kind of get the more of an unfiltered experience on those shows.
One of these days, I may be able to finally talk Nick into a draft episode. But if not, I'll just start reaching out to people, and maybe we'll get some guests and do a little draft content.
It's hard to get a hold of Nick these days. He's all slippery and slips out your hands to get a hold of him.
He's pretty easy to get a hold of. I talk to him daily on multiple group texts, individual texts, etc. Just got to get the man on a bonus pod.
Get him on the bonus pod. We also have you get Discord access as well, of course, by signing up for the Patreon. So go have some fun in there, or go not have fun in there if we're losing. Either way, it's a great time.
Either a great time, or you have people to cope with.
Yeah. Tonight, though, Thunder played the Houston Rockets in Houston. They beat their
coping tonight, Silva.
No coping tonight. They beat their ass. 111-91 is the final score in Houston. An exciting game as always. It usually is against the Rockets. Usually you can bank on it being like a very physical game. You can count on the Rockets. It's funny. These two teams don't score. Like, these are not offensively minded teams. The Thunder get a lot of their points from turnovers and steals. The Rockets get a lot of their points from offensive rebounding. You know, not two stats you would think of when it comes to a good scoring team. So we got both of those tonight. The Thunder are coming back into form in a big way. Like you said, they shot pretty mediocre overall from this game, but even mediocre with a Thunder team that has a defense this good looks pretty awesome when they put it all together.
Agreed completely. Like you said, it was definitely a rock fight. Dog fight, whatever you want to call it.
Rock fight.
Thunder shoot 46% from the floor, which isn't great, but the Rockets shoot only 33.3% from the floor. The Thunder 39% from three, though, which was huge, 16-41, while the Rockets shoot only 29% from three. Just incredible defense, really, on both ends of the floor, Silva. Shai barely escapes with 20 points to extend his 20-point streak. Largely, you have to credit Amen Thompson, obviously, who was the primary Shai defender, and also the defensive scheme that the Rockets had, sending 2, sometimes 3, just versatile, long, strong defenders to at Shai at point of attack. We'll get into Shai's game, but I think he did a really good job of handling that. But yeah, ultimately just two really good defensive teams and one not so great offensive team in the Houston Rockets, who have really been struggling as of late on that end of the floor.
Yeah. This is going to be a fun one to talk about because a ton of guys contributed on the Thunder. It was the Rockets kind of spent a lot of their energy blocking down SGA, which gave other guys room to perform. The guy I want to talk about first, I think, is Chet Holmgren. I think this is one of the best games I've seen from him, like, period. I thought he did an amazing job on Şengün. Şengün finished he kind of put it together, but he was largely quiet. 14 points for Şengün on 7 of 15, 13 rebounds, 5 assists, 5 turnovers.
Huge.
Yeah, Chet did an amazing job on him. Chet finished with 18 points on 7 of 9 from the field, 2 of 3 from 3, 9 rebounds, 4 blocks, 2 steals. Just a huge rim deterrent the entire game. He was amazing.
He was. And it started from the very beginning, Silva. Chet, this was a tweet from friend of the podcast, Nick Gallo. Chet already up to 8 points on 3 of 3 shooting with 2 boards in the first 3 minutes of the game. And that just continued. He had a dominant first half where he was scoring the ball. Second half, he didn't really sustain the scoring, not so much anything to do with him, but because the Thunder were they were exploiting other opportunities offensively, and he just continued to play so well defensively as well. Thunder got dominated on the boards yet again, which you kind of expect when you don't have an iHeart, right? And you're playing against a really good offensive rebounding and really just a overall good rebounding team against the Rockets. So for Chet to be able to do what he did on that end, even when the Thunder were at a huge disadvantage from the rebounding standpoint, just a really great overall game from Chet.
It's so amazing. If you watch Chet play against Wemby, it is easy to forget how amazing Chet is against every other center in the NBA when he's matched up against them. Like, Wemby's just a unique specimen, a unique like kryptonite to Chet. But every other night, Chet was amazing. He locked up Bam earlier this week. Tonight it was Şengün. This also is one of those games where you're like, if Chet had a larger offensive role on this team, or in another reality was like the number 2 or number 1 option on another team, he could average a lot of points. Like, he just kind of stopped getting shots. Like, he finished 7 of 9.
Right.
So it wasn't an efficiency thing. He's the third option on this team.
Right.
Even the fourth, it feels like, with AJ kind of coming out of his shell this season. But Chet's amazing. Really nice game from him.
Funny enough, Skip Bayless with a pretty good Chet tweet because Royce Young just retweeted it, so it got brought up on my notifications. But he said Chet just played big versus the NBA's biggest team, and Shai just said he would bet a lot of money Chet will be an all-star. He should be. He's not quite Wemby, who on this planet is, but Chet plays harder, more consistently, and he's a better team fit for OKC. And weirdly enough, I think Skip brings up some really good points there. Wemby's not going to be okay with going the second half with not a whole lot of field goal attempts, Silva. He's not going to, I don't think he'd be willing to do the dirty work like Chet was there in that second half, even when he's not touching the ball offensively quite as much as he was the first. It would be good to see the Thunder involve Chet a little more offensively, especially like in the pick and roll. They struggle so much finding him on the roll. Like it is kind of crazy. And also I think Chet should be maybe taking more 3-point attempts and trying to space the floor a little more. But again, overall, just a really good performance from Chet. We'll get into the Spurs game. You and I talked about this before the podcast. We'll talk some big picture thoughts from that. But even when he wasn't playing his best, I still thought he impacted the game at a high level that game. I was there watching in person, and like when Wemby's off the floor, just what he's doing defensively, being able to be a rim deterrent, especially with iHeart out, it's just so important. And it doesn't show up in the box score. But again, just so important for this team. And when Chet's playing like he has this season, there's a reason the Thunder are so dominant defensively.
Totally agree. Yeah. Chet is willing to, Wemby wants to be the main character. It's kind of his energy these days and always. But Chet is willing to take a step back and do what needs to be done. You're right about the passing and them missing him. That happened like a lot. This team is sometimes shockingly lackadaisical with passing to a guy like Chet. Like you could be feeding him more. There's some wide open attempts you're just missing. And our guy Connor brings up a really good point. Connor says Şengün usually punks Chet in Houston. Love to see Chet really step up. That's totally true. Like I remember last year,
we got so mad at the Şengün games.
Oh, mad because Şengün usually like really takes it to the Thunder from a physicality standpoint. And that just didn't happen tonight. I know Şengün's coming back from like an injury of some kind, but there's always something going on. Like physicality, you can control, and Thunder did a damn good job. I think the Spurs probably greased the wheels a little bit for that matchup. Like, usually you walk in playing Şengün, that's going to be a surprise. He's a very physical guy, but right after playing someone like Wemby, it's like, whatever.
Well, you bring up another really good point, Silva, and another big theme that's not a player, but something that stood out to me, not only from tonight's game, but the past 2 games, is the Thunder have really ramped up their physicality again.
Yeah.
During that stretch here over the past, what was it, like a month and a half, if we want to call it that, when they were struggling, we were talking about the defense not being, the rotations obviously weren't as crisp. They were a little more lackadaisical, but the big thing there is they got away from the physicality. And not to make excuses, but obviously that is hard to keep up during an 82-game season. But what we've seen these past 2 games is that come back into form. So much so, the NBA Twitter is just having a heyday, saying that, I can't believe they were able to defend Wemby like this.
Yep.
How dare them,
Yeah,
how dare them keep me from getting to see a 40-point Wemby game. I hate it.
Mm-hmm.
And then tonight, Rockets fans just having a heyday because they feel like they deserve so many more fouls. I think the same thing could be said about them as well. There's a lot of missed calls on the defensive end for the Rockets, but they end up, Thunder forced 14 turnovers, had 11 of their own, and they had 16 fouls called to the Rockets 12. The Rockets also had, I was looking at the free throws, 17 free throw attempts to the Thunder's 15. That kind of equalized there in the fourth quarter because of how the game was being played.
Yep.
But at one point, they had like a double digit, I think heading into the third quarter, during the third quarter, had like almost twice as many free throw attempts as the Thunder. You can't blame it on that.
No.
That's
No,
just
you
such
can't.
an excuse.
I kind of liked how this game was refereed, if I'm honest. Like they let them play with the level of physicality that both these teams want to play with. So I don't know. I've just decided to kind of stop engaging with the angry fans on Twitter. There's no winning any of those arguments. So I'm trying not to be as involved. But here's the next guy I want to talk about. Comments are kind of on it about the ref stuff.
Yeah.
Like,
Hey,
Still
good
had
point.
had an egregious backcourt that went uncalled. But
That
hey,
was
you know what?
terrible.
They missed.
Can't believe it wasn't.
Travels and carries get missed all the time. It's just went our way this time. There's no line. There was no line on the court with the court they're using. Ajay Mitchell, though, one of his best games of the season. 17 points on
Agreed.
7 of 10, 3 of 4 from 3, 5 rebounds, 3 assists, only 1 turnover, 1 steal. Really, really impactful player. I tweeted out because I haven't watched many Rockets games. Is Ajay Mitchell just already better than Reed Shepherd? And most people in the comments were like, yeah, obviously. Which I thought so.
I think so.
But I didn't want to come out
And look, like Silva, since we talked about Reed some last season when the Thunder played him, and we talked about him after you and I were in attendance with Jacob, and Justin, I can't remember now, for ring night, opening night, and Shepherd got played off the floor. That essentially, he didn't get played off the floor because they couldn't afford to not have him out there due to injuries and just the way this team's constructed tonight. But it feels so sorry. I got distracted and got a text. He's not able to compete physically when it comes to a team like the Thunder, right? They essentially play him off the floor. And I think you're exactly right. I think AJ's just provides so much more. But what I was getting at before I lost my thought is he's had a really good stretch of games, so we can't discredit that. And I think you have to give credit to the Thunder for how they were able to defend, be physical with him, and just keep him from being a factor tonight because he is a great offensive player. Yeah,
I would at the end of the season, I would really like to compile all of Reed Shepherd's games and look at his games against the big dogs like the Thunder, the Rockets, the Spurs, the Pistons, and see what he does in those games. Because I remember after game 1 of the season, we were all kind of shitting on Reed Shepherd, and then he went on a little run after that. But every time I've seen him against a really good team, it doesn't, like our guy Jacob in our group chat pointed out that the Rockets go to zone when he comes in just because they have to, they like can't let him match up one-on-one. And
because they so desperately need offense and creation on the offensive side of the floor, and scoring and creation on the offensive side of the floor, that they can't afford not to have him out there. But he's not a good enough defender, so they have to hide him and do things like zone defenses and things of that nature and run certain actions defensively to be able to hide him on other players because he can't guard one-on-one against more physical and bigger, versatile teams like the Thunder.
Yeah, but back to AJ. I don't know what his ceiling is. I really have no idea. Like I really thought he was going to be an offense first, offensive, like way more offensively tilted player, but he is a dog on defense, way more than I thought.
This is kind of fun, Silva, because this makes me think of a conversation I actually had. Friend of the podcast, Donnie Hazelwood, he's in the chat right now, I believe. He called me today about something different, but we started talking about some Thunder for a little bit during my lunch break. And one thing he was talking about, we were talking about the Rockets and their recent stretch, them not looking so good. And he was like, but like, when we talked about Reed and AJ, he said, what if the Rockets had AJ? Obviously, you don't, with Van Vliet being hurt, like what if AJ's their starting point guard? How much better would that make that team? And like, we're talking about top 4 team in the West, like we thought they would be heading into the season. He would make them so good. And the Thunder have the luxury of having AJ Mitchell come off the bench. So Shai, I wanted to bring this up, and I think it's a good time to bring it up. He has his first points of the game at the 4:52 mark in the second quarter, Silva, on that first and one that he had. And then he got kind of hot there to end the half, which was good, and had a pretty decent fourth quarter. But it was AJ being able to come in off the bench. And so you have Amen Thompson as Shai's primary defender. You're essentially, and we know Shai's minutes slowed, right? Like they're trying to match Amen on Shai's minute for minute.
Yeah.
You take him off the floor, and then they throw that zone defense at you, and you have a player like AJ Mitchell, not in the same way that Shai does, but almost as efficiently is able to get to the rim and put pressure on the rim, get you scoring when you need it, dissect the zone defenses, and find open shooters for OKC. Like, what a luxury that is for OKC to have. Because, to Donnie's point, like, he'd be starting for this Houston team, I think.
He'd be starting for a lot of teams. I really think. He's so clearly the second best driver and ball handler and, like, shot creator on the team right now, with J-Dub coming back and kind of ramping up from his hand surgery. He's amazing. And I think, especially in the playoffs, that's going to be so valuable. Like, this is what the rotations would be like in the playoffs. You knock some stuff at the end of the bench off. Like, I don't know if Kenrich is getting 14 minutes.
I liked it, though, especially with iHeart out. We needed every bit of that.
Totally agree. But having AJ come in, that would have been so helpful last year in the playoffs. So helpful.
Agreed.
And he just seems so confident. So extremely
he's fearless.
Yeah.
And 7 of 10 from the floor, Silva, 3 of 4 from 3, which was so huge. Yeah. Really kind of ignited the Thunder shooting better from 3 after he came in there in the first quarter. It kind of turned the tide there. That's when we saw Lou kind of go on a hot streak. Isaiah Joe hit a 3 there during that stretch. The second half was much better because of what AJ was able to do and stabilize the offense. Also, he continues to defend really well. Mm-hmm. I mean, he's not look. We'll talk about Cason Wallace and Lou Dort. Lou obviously had a better game tonight, but over this recent stretch, him and Cason have both struggled, not only offensively, but defensively. So, but even then, I'm not saying AJ's as good of a point of attack perimeter defender as those two. But tonight, Silva, he had a steal, a block, only 1 turnover. How many fouls? I don't think he had very many fouls either. Oh, he had 0. Yeah. Just playing really great defense. He's not a negative. You can throw him out there without those players on the floor, and he's not a negative defensively. Like, just does so much for this team.
If you put a video in front of me and all you could see was the silhouette of the player, not who the player was, his defensive, the way he guards is so similar to Caruso. Like, in terms of keeping his upper body stout,
I love that
way guarding. Like, he guards
using his chest.
His chest. Like, that's the same style. What a luxury that guy is to have. He'll be a very important player for the future. One of the weirdest, probably the weirdest stat line of the night is J-Dub, who
glad you brought him up. I wanted to talk about him.
I didn't hate his game.
I thought he had a great game, Silva.
And he went
glad to hear you say that.
He went 2 of 11 from the field, but 5 rebounds, 10 assists, no turnovers.
So I think you have to give a lot of credit to both Dub and Shai in this regard, because Dub didn't really have a ton of shot opportunities. And when he did, obviously, he wasn't shooting the ball at a high level, or he was getting blocked at the rim or throwing up bricks, because he had long, lengthy defenders from Houston trying to block those shot attempts or whatever it may be, put pressure on him. What he did do is make the right play every single time when those shots weren't available to him. And Shai did the same, which is why he struggled to get 20. You have to give Houston a lot of credit for defending Shai and Dub how they did. And yet both of them were able to rely on their teammates, create for their teammates, and open other opportunities up. And that is really a huge catalyst for this Thunder offense tonight against a really good defensive team in the Rockets.
Yeah. The Houston really wanted the other non-stars to beat them, and they did. They definitely did. I really love what J-Dub is doing, and he's talked about it in all these press conferences, like trying to be effective in other ways, not just scoring. And he's proving it. Like his passing seems to be improved. He's been hitting at least like one sick wraparound pass every game, it feels like.
That one in the first quarter was nasty.
Awesome. Yeah.
Who was that to again?
Chet?
Jacob brought it up in our group text. I think it was Chet. Yeah.
Yeah.
For a dunk and transition. Yeah. Just
really impressed.
Great stuff.
Really impressed with him. Who do you want to talk about next?
And I had one. Let's talk about Lou Dort because we mentioned him, and I think that's a loud one that we haven't really touched on so far. Lou Dort tonight, 13 points, 5 of 8 from the floor, 3 of 5 from 3. Those were huge shot at a huge 3-point attempts. Obviously, he's really been struggling offensively for the Thunder. Was out against the Spurs, and I think his defense followed suit. You know, it didn't used to be this way, Silva. When Lou came into the league, he struggled offensively, but he still was fearless, right? But always played his brand of defense. Here over the past 2 seasons, it kind of feels like his defense goes as he's hitting or missing shots. And tonight, I thought he defended pretty well at a closer to normal for him. And I think a lot of that was due to him seeing shots go down the offensive side of the basketball.
And he gets to guard KD, which I'm sure is fun for him. It's a weird matchup, but that's kind of the guy that's always guarded KD, like your Drew Holidays, your Tony Allens, your Marcus Smarts. Like that's the kind of KD defender. And Kevin Durant had a pretty inefficient game. Scored 19 points on 23 shots.
Yep.
So it was tough. Lou also, they left him wide open. Like
as they should.
Wide open.
And that's the scary part. And again, we'll get into this when we talk about more bigger picture thoughts from the past 2 games.
Yeah.
And we include the Spurs game. But even tonight, I know Lou was huge and the Thunder front office and coaching staff are like fist pumping and pointing in the faces of all the Twitter trolls and all of that. I still think the offense looked so much more smooth with Lou Dort off the court. And I'm not saying trade Lou. I'm just saying currently as Lou Dort's playing and the way the team's constructed, we're talking about the emergence of AJ, so many different factors, but this offense just seems to be better with Lou off the floor. And I meant to pull those stats once the game ended. I didn't have time. We'll see if I can do that quickly. But anyways.
Who do you want to give? Let's do our King of the Prairie. Because there is one guy we have not talked about, and that's SGA, really. But who do you want to give King of the Prairie to? I want to put the ball in your court first there.
Oh, see, this one's tough because Chet, like you said, so many players were incredibly impactful, even if the stat lines weren't super flashy. The broadcast gave it to Chet after the game for their player of the game.
There.
But for me, Silva, I think I'm going with the guy we just spent a lot of time talking about, Ajay Mitchell. Just the way he was able to stabilize and spark the offense while maintaining the defensive intensity. He had nearly as many points as Shai did tonight, just essentially took on a Shai role when Shai was getting so much attention from the Houston defense. I really want to give this to Ajay Mitchell. 17 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists, 7 of 10 from the floor, 3 of 4 from 3, and like I said, 1 block and a steal as well.
That's a good pick. And I think I remember giving him King of the Prairie maybe one other time. And I always like giving out this award, this made up award to someone that doesn't often get it. I'll give it to Chet just to give him some of his flowers as well. Really, really amazing Chet game. I hope he's an all-star. I listen to the national podcasts, and not a lot of guys are picking him. Like your Zach Lowe, Bill Simmons. I don't recall them picking Chet. And there's a lot of good options.
Bill doesn't surprise me, but Zach Lowe not diving into the weeds like he usually does and seeing the impact of Chet, that does surprise me a little bit. And I wonder if it's just because the Thunder have been so dominant up until that kind of tough stretch. Chet's bad games were so loud against the Spurs when they're on national television as well. And I'm not sure people really truly grasp the impact that Chet has on this team.
Agreed. Did want to shout out our friends over at Prairie Artisan Ales, though. Go get a beer at Prairie. Go watch the Thunder game at Prairie. Hit up the trivia. I believe it's on Wednesdays and Sundays. You can check their schedule on their Instagram, of course. See what new beers are out. See what the trivia topic is. They have a pickleball court that I've been hitting up pretty often.
I love it.
I'll be there again this weekend. So,
And hey, speaking of the weekend, and we mentioned Nick at the top of the podcast, Silva. Nick and I, he was in town this past Sunday covering the Miami Heat game. So I got to meet up with him before at Prairie, and it was super cool. He has to be there a little earlier than usual for media availability. So we were at Prairie pretty early. So not even like a Thunder crowd. It was busy. There's people there doing had their laptops open doing work. There's people there playing games. There's people. And then when we left, they had Prairie Trivia, which they do every Sunday, and it was packed. So we love to see it. Also, obviously a great spot to watch Thunder games. So go check out our friends at Prairie.
Awesome stuff. Awesome stuff. All right. There's two routes we can go here. I kind of want to start working into big picture stuff. Obviously, the Thunder beat the Spurs, like the most anticipated game of the season, Tuesday
And
night.
none of you all wanted to post a game podcast with me, but it's fine.
I was going night after that.
Sleeping good.
Yeah, sleeping real good with a smile on my face. But I will admit I was full doomsday after Christmas. I was like, what is wrong with this team? It was after Christmas and after the Hornets game where they got blown out.
Agreed.
I was in doomsday mode. I was like, we have to make a trade, which I still sort of believe in, but maybe not as major as what I was banging my fist on the table for. I didn't recognize the team for a while, and now Taylor, they've won 9 of their last 11 games since Christmas, and they're still easily number 1 in the West. They seem to have that fire back. They seem to be back to their old selves, or at least working towards their old selves that we saw the first 25 games.
I think those games after Christmas, some of those ones they did get, still weren't quite what we're accustomed to, especially the way that they were playing. To your point, at the beginning of the season, they were 24-2, whatever it was. Mm-hmm. These last 2 games, though, they absolutely have brought that intensity back. And I don't think it's, it's not a coincidence that it came because of playing the Spurs and then another team, the Rockets, that obviously has become a little bit of a rivalry. Not that they would admit that or anything, but you have KD, Van Vliet, even though he didn't play tonight, Amin Thompson, and the talk about him being a good Shai defender, just another solid team that I think they really wanted to make sure they made a statement, and they certainly did. Just kind of I think a good stretch to kind of wake them up, during the dog days of the NBA season, heading up before trade deadline, before the All-Star break. And so I think it's really these last 2 games for me, Silva, where we've seen the Thunder play more to their identity, which is, again, the hounding defense, the physicality that they play with, so much so that you can't call every single foul against them, which then leads to transition offense, which is why even though the Thunder haven't been shooting the ball at a incredibly high level, they still have been able to put teams away because they are pushing the ball out in transition and playing in pace, which is huge.
Yeah, I want to throw some big ideas at you about why I think the Thunder are kind of getting back on track. One of them surprised me quite a bit, but I kind of thought the tide started to turn actually in that Memphis game where most of the team was out and they fought back from down 20 plus and kind of found something again with J-Dub and with Kenrich especially. Good things tend to happen, and the team seems like it finds itself whenever Kenrich Williams is involved and whenever Jay Will is involved.
That is such a great point, Scylla.
I want to give those 2 guys a lot of credit for helping get this team back on track. I don't think it's any coincidence at all that as soon as Jay Will came back, this team started to play more like themselves. He is a very important connector to this team, and he's been awesome. He's also been a productive player since he came back. Been way better off of drives than he was at the beginning of the season. He can shoot from 3. Was the most
battling on the boards. He's getting rebounds
on Wemby. Him and Kenrich were the 2 most effective guys on Wemby, I thought, the other night.
Absolutely.
So credit to those 2. I didn't expect that would be what helped get this team back on course, but I mean, I've been very, very surprised by their additions again.
I think you bring up a fantastic point. I just mentioned the physicality, Silva, that the Thunder are playing with, and I think those 2 lead the charge there. Or and I think you bring up a good point as well, talking about the Memphis game, a game like that where you should win by double digits. It's a grind. You aren't playing well. And in the fourth quarter, you have guys like that stepping up. I don't want to say the end of the bench because that's not fair. They obviously get good rotation minutes, but you're kind of end of the bench guys coming in and just igniting the defense, igniting the offense, the culture that they bring. Like it, yeah, I think that's super fair.
And Jay Will plays with like so much like passion that I have to feel like it is. I mean, it looks contagious watching it from my screen. Like when they started to kind of take the run away with that Spurs game, he hit a huge three in the corner and was like bouncing off of one leg after he hit it and like screaming to the crowd. He's just
had 11 points, 10 rebounds, 5 assists against the Spurs. So again, like you said, I mean, it's been hard for Mark to keep him off the floor. I mean, he's essentially at, let's see, Tuesday night against the Spurs, he played 22 minutes. And tonight, I'm going to assume it was very similar. But let me check really quick. Great podcasting. 16 minutes. It felt like more. But still, he's playing more and more. The most we've seen Jay Will play, even when iHeart was out for some stretches, like earlier in the season or last season, they're relying on him a lot right now because, like you said, not only is he playing more efficiently offensively and playing better defensively, like hanging with defenders. I even saw him tonight, like hedging on KD and playing a great job on the perimeter, which we haven't seen much from Jay Will. But it's just the spark and the passion that he brings that this team really missed there during that stretch.
Yeah, and there's also Brandon Carlson's not very good, I think, and he had to play a lot. Like that is the other side of that coin. Where he's a fine offensive player, but I think he just kind of gets destroyed on the defensive end. And I mean, that is why he's a two-way player, and we haven't given him a full contract yet, I assume. But there's also there's the other little stuff that while we were trying to stay level-headed with the sky is falling discussion. It's like, well, J-Dub's not himself yet. I feel like he's been kind of ramping up a little bit. Tonight was not the most efficient night, but he's found ways to be effective. I think all of his points in the Spurs game were right at the rim.
And speaking of good defenders, like obviously the loud defenders on Wemby seem to be some of the Kenrich plays, even some of the J Will plays, like you mentioned. But J-Dub played a great game defensively on Wemby as well. It wasn't as loud. There weren't like a lot of stats that came from it, but J-Dub was playing really well defensively against Wemby.
Yeah. There's also a small change that you mentioned before tonight's game where Mark, with iHeart being out, obviously the starting lineup has often included Case and Wallace. He has moved to Aaron Wiggins. And I think Aaron Wiggins has been pretty important to this team being better offensively as well. He might not have the most efficient nights, but he's kind of getting back to who he was last season as well. I think he's been pretty quiet most of this season. But the last week, I've been more impressed with his, even if it's not the box score, like more impressed with his effort. And he is kind of hitting threes when they need them and getting them back on track. 3-point shooting with this team is like contagious. It's like
100%.
If one person's cold, the whole team gets cold, it feels like. So shout out to Aaron Wiggins, too. That's the small things.
It is. And I think you said that very well. Like against the Spurs Tuesday night, only 5 points, 2 of 6 shooting, 1 of 5 from 3. But I thought he defended pretty well. Obviously defended well enough to be on the court and deserve those minutes. And had 5 rebounds and 4 assists. Just doing things outside, just like J-Dub and Shai tonight. Like we talked about, doing things outside of scoring the basketball. Here about a week ago, they needed him to score the basketball, and he was able to kind of sustain the offense because of that when you had some of these players out. So especially like there's so many interesting swing factors with this team, Silva. I think about Case and Wallace, who tonight hit some big time threes, especially there in the fourth quarter. He defended better, but overall, him and Lou both have been playing at a subpar level for each of them, which has really hurt this team at times.
Yeah.
As well as Isaiah Joe, like who, again, I've talked about this. You look at his 3-point shooting for a season or for a stretch of games, and it's usually pretty consistent for his career averages, but it's so night to night, or it's so like streaky, like you just said, a stretch of games here, a stretch of games there, where he's either hot or he's not. If any of these things can click at the right time, we're looking at such a dominant team. But Kaysen struggled offensively. Obviously, Lou outside of tonight has. Isaiah Joe doesn't have it going. And Aaron Wiggins is hit or miss. Like, one of these things has to go the Thunder's way eventually is what I'm getting at.
Yeah, and a lot of these little things are connected, and it could be one little mental thing going on that's causing a cascading effect throughout the rest of the team that's leading to really nasty basketball. But like, for example, they played often with Kaysen, J-Dub, and Lou Dort in the same lineup. And right now, or at least for the last 10 games, there's been 3 non-shooters out there. If those 3 guys
Right.
like that, effectively, that's what's been happening. And teams kind of know that.
Even just like some stupid, like just bad luck kind of stuff. Yes. Alex Caruso has some great looks tonight. And look, I understand the last time, 2 times ago when they played the Spurs and he shot so poorly. But like tonight, shots just went in and out from 3 when he was wide open. Like if some of those fall, this would have been a 20-point game at halftime.
Mm-hmm.
Just some stuff like that. 2 thoughts, Silva, just based off what you said. One, I wanted to highlight this comment from Wayne Hode, who said, hit some threes, changes everything on how they play Shai, which is so true and made me think of one of my overall things from the past 2 games. Against the Spurs, the Thunder only shot 36.7% from 3. That's not like an incredible number. That's a little under league average, I believe, off the top of my head. But them shooting at that clip just opened up, like I said at the beginning of the podcast, mediocre, so much better than shooting poorly. It opened up so much more for Shai and for Dub and for AJ and for players being able to get to the rim. Them just shooting at a mediocre, like an average level from outside opens up so much more from this team. And I saw that yet again tonight, especially during that fourth quarter and that second half where some of those threes started to fall. That's when we saw J-Dub being able to drive to the rim, create for his teammates and find those open shooters. Like you said, it's contagious. Even if it's not the 3-point shooting that's contagious, it's seeing some of the shots go down just ignites and sparks the offense. So I think Wayne Hode brought up a really good point there.
It seems like a miracle when the threes start falling. A miracle. But when they do, Wayne is right. Like the whole game changes. The whole game opens up. And SJ all of a sudden has clear paths to the rim. And it's like you said, it's contagious, and other guys start hitting him. Kaysen also just, I think, hates the Rockets because I remember him having a good game against the Rockets on night 1 also. So I don't know. I'll admit, I overreacted about the sky falling. What am I supposed to? I ride my sports fandom is I'm in the wave pool on a floaty, and I'm just letting it carry me wherever it wants to carry me. If things are going well, I'll be happy. If things are going well, I won't be happy, but I'll come back. It's fine.
Always, that's right. You always you always drift back to shore.
Yes.
Shout out wave pools. I was in one this past weekend. Shout out Okana and OKC. Had a little birthday celebration.
Yeah.
Yeah. Brooks loved it, even though he kept like inhaling water from the waves, but just thought the waves were great and a ton of fun. So,
all right. Any other big picture thoughts? What's the schedule look like ahead? I've been so locked in on these 2 games this week.
I know
what's coming up.
Well,
next.
So I will say this. I have it pulled up now, and I'll read them off. But Silva, here, like a week or so ago, I think I texted you all, and I was like, "Look, I just looked at the Thunder schedule. Thankfully, there's not like a ton of back-to-backs or anything like that." But they play every other night. Like there's no 2 game breaks, like all the way up until the All-Star break, not even the trade deadline. So when you are banged up like the Thunder are, obviously there's some injuries, some long-term injuries like Heart. We saw Lou Dort out there for a while. I'm going blank, but we've seen Kaysen be out with the big toe injury. We've seen Caruso. We've seen Shai with like bursitis in his knee and his elbow. Like, this team's a little banged up, and there's not a lot of time to get healthy until the All-Star break. So looking ahead, they play Saturday night at Miami, which, again, I mean, you're playing in Miami. That's quite a flight, and, Miami, especially at home, they're going to bring intensity.
They also might be sitting some guys because they're about to trade them for Ja.
That'd be great.
That might be happening also.
That would be great. Yeah. 2 days later, this upcoming Monday, they play at Cleveland against the Cavaliers. Wednesday, the 21st, 2 days after that, they play in Milwaukee against the Bucks. Then they finally get to play back at home again against the Pacers that next Friday, a week from tomorrow. The Sunday, 2 days later, they play the Raptors at home. They play the Pelicans at home. 2 Tuesdays from now, and then 2 Thursdays from now, they play at the Minnesota Timberwolves. So pretty tough road stretch coming up. Even like if the Bucks and the Cavs, even the Heat aren't as good as they have been, just like that travel is a lot. So pretty busy week coming up, and they finally get 3 straight home games against some pretty mediocre teams. So that will be really nice. And I would not be surprised if we see some players like the Casey Wallace's and the Alex Caruso's sit some of those games.
I just looked at the schedule in February to start. It is hell.
Oh, no.
It's Denver, Orlando, San Antonio, Houston, LA.
Oh, my
Phoenix.
gosh. Is it a home, away, a little bit of both?
At Denver, home Orlando. At San Antonio, home Houston. At Lakers, at Phoenix.
That's a tough stretch.
Yeah,
they better get healthy out of All-Star break.
Yep.
Need iHeart back. Hey, there's one final takeaway from these past 2 games to wrap things up, Silva. We need a healthy iHeart back in playing shape and just who can compete on the boards. That's been missed.
Agreed. This was a fun one. I'm glad the vibes are back. I'm glad I can sit down and actually enjoy. I was just so in my head about like, oh my God, they're not the Thunder anymore. I don't know what's happening, but
it's just so frustrating.
You look around the league, like every team has scheduled or has struggled.
Through this stretch. They call it the dog days of the NBA season for a reason. On this podcast, we talk about the dog days of the off season because you're just scrambling, coming up with like different segments for content because the draft's over, free agency's over, trades are done. You're just waiting for training camp. This is kind of the equivalent of the NBA season because the newness of the new season has worn off. You're traveling so much like all these teams are. You're in the period of injuries because you play so many different games. Like you said, all it's not just the Thunder. All these teams find themselves in a similar position leading into the trade deadline and then the All-Star break. And then after the All-Star break, you kind of see these teams start to ramp back up, get back into playoff form with a couple of months to go until the playoffs.
Yep. I've been looking at trying to look at the team records over the last 10 games just to see what was up there. Clippers 8-2 in their last 10. What the hell happened?
I know. I was going to bring that up. Not sure I even want to Master Blaster. What a name. But Master Blaster brings up a good point. The Clippers keep winning, though. And they do. I saw that stat or listened to it yesterday. I don't remember it. They're winning a lot of games.
Say goodbye.
Kawhi looks good. Yeah, that's right.
Timberwolves 7-3. It's the way it goes.
Yeah, the Nuggets keep winning even without like all their starters. Essentially, Jamal Murray is obviously going to make his first All-Star game, which is so cool to finally see. Happy for him. But yeah, they're playing at a high level even without Jokic.
He's not the MVP.
Aaron Gordon just came back. Yeah, that's right.
He's not the MVP.
That's right. They don't need
it. Really is going to most likely win MVP again, huh?
Knock on wood. Let's hope he stays healthy, but yes.
Yep. Yeah,
it should be incredible.
RIP Tankathon spins. They don't hit the same right now.
They don't hit the same right now.
We were high on our own supply for those first 30 games. That's all right.
We're unbeatable, and we're going to get a top 5 pick.
Yeah.
All
right.
Still a lot of basketball left.
A lot
through the season.
A lot of basketball left to be played. We're going to be back on Sunday with another main show with all the boys on it. Thanks for hanging out with us tonight. Glad the Thunder are back on track. We'll see you guys on the next episode. Until then, though, adios and Thunder up.